Hey there, it's Victoria and welcome back to FemmeHead. Today I want to talk about postpartum prep for baby number 2. So I've done this before, popped out a baby, and while I know a bit better what to expect, I know every birth and postpartum and it's different, especially going from 1 to 2 versus none to 1. But I feel like I'm a bit older and wiser and therefore can better expect what's to come this time versus with Theo when I just was going in blind, which was kind of nice in its own way. But I think I like to be prepared. I prefer it this way, knowing a bit more what to expect. And since I'm so old and wise now, I wanted to sit down and share with you guys what I'm doing because I feel like it's good to share experience with others, especially if you're watching this as a new mom and you're pregnant with your first and you're just, where I was, going in blind, not knowing what to expect, and you want someone to give it to you real. That's what I'm here for. With Theo, I thought postpartum prep was about making padsicles and freezer meals and setting up my breastfeeding station and getting ahead for work. And while that was all fine and dandy, I quickly realized there's so much more. There's so much more that happens in that postpartum phase that you can't really expect or prepare for unless you've been there. But I think having someone that's been through it talk you through it realistically can help you prepare in a way that you can't on your own without knowing that information. Did that make any sense at all? So I quickly realized when I was postpartum with Theo that it was so much more about the mental, emotional aspect of the postpartum phase than the physical. Don't get me wrong, we're gonna start with the physical arena because that's no joke. But I was not mentally prepared to be a new mom. No. And I'm not trying to scare you and be like, oh, you've made this mistake and this baby's gonna come and ruin your life and you're not gonna be the same person anymore. I feel like it's better to know what's coming and to be prepared because motherhood is beautiful, having a newborn baby is beautiful, but there are moments that are so incredibly difficult and you feel like you're drowning and you feel like you're alone and you feel like, why did no one warn me? And I'm here to warn you because it is grand, it is beautiful, but there are hard moments, but you will get through them. I'm going to break my postpartum prep into physical preparation and mental preparation. Let's start with the physical. Healing. Postpartum healing. It is no joke, but it's also not the end of the world. Your body's just been through a lot. You've been pregnant for months, as you know, and then hours of labor, of pushing, of kicking out a kid one way or other. That takes a toll on your body. And you have to give yourself time to recover from the actual birth, labor and birth itself, not to mention everything that comes after. You're gonna wanna make sure that you have over-the-counter pain medication on hand. Usually your OB or your midwife will tell you what to have. In the hospital, I think they gave me ibuprofen, and I think I got Advil, which is ibuprofen. But you do not want to be without those things. Made that mistake. I said to Michael, do we have more of this at home? And he's like, yeah, I've got it. It's got to be in our medicine cabinet. It wasn't, people. And I just remember laying on the couch crying because my vagina hurt so bad. The effects of the pain medication they last gave me at the hospital wore off. But he quickly ran to the store and got me more. You also want to get a stool softener. Here to tell it to you, people are terrified of pooping after birth, which I can understand, but it's really not that bad. Take your stool softener. I took Colace. Stay regular with that and you'll stay regular in other senses. Don't F around with the two of those things. Take your pain medication and take your stool softener at the recommended times with the correct dosage, and just take it a little bit longer than you think you need to, because I made that mistake of being like, I'm healed up, I feel better, and so I kind of stopped taking it. But then it's spicy healing from birth, so just help yourself out and take some pain medication. And then once you are kind of healed up and it's not as bad to just be around the house, then you start wanting to oh, I want to take the baby for a walk, or I feel like doing a little laundry, or cleaning up a little bit. And just that amount of physical activity can be enough to set off postpartum healing and be like, ooh, I pushed myself a bit too far. I did that once with a walk. I went too far. I bit off more than I can chew, and it just the best way I can explain it, once you're actually healed up, it just feels heavy, achy, and sore. You just gotta take care of it. Let's talk about like vaginal healing, the perineum healing, because regardless of whether you tore or not, you pushed a baby out. And maybe you didn't, maybe you had a C-section, and that is a completely different world of postpartum healing. And they'll give you a little bit stronger medication for that, and it's a little bit longer recovery. But there are other women that have gone through that same experience, so look to them for this. I'm just talking about like down there healing for vaginal births. Because regardless of whether you tore or not, you pushed a baby out of your vagina and it needs a little TLC. Things have happened down there. The hospital will give you what's called a peri bottle. Use that. 1 or 2, you spray. I always filled it up with warm water. Takes an extra second, but so worth it. Spray that and dab ever so lightly with toilet paper. Do not wipe, dab. Or let it air dry, but I usually just dabbed. And be oh so delicate. I made the mistake, I don't know why, of looking down there right after I gave birth. Like, it had been a couple hours probably. I think I'd slept a little bit. But I looked down there one time I went to the bathroom. I think it was the first time I went to the bathroom by myself. And I was like, Jesus Christ! It was so swollen, so puffy, so just huge. And I was like, what have I done to my vagina? It goes down. It goes back to normal. But what can you expect after giving birth? Like, of course, your vagina and like your vulva and your labia are just gonna be, They'll also give you a numbing spray. Use it religiously. There's also like perineum healing spray, like more natural stuff you can get. A friend gave me that as well, so I would cycle between like numbing spray and like the natural perineum healing spray. You want that cold blast of numb in the beginning, I'm not gonna lie, so just numb her up. I made padsicles with Theo because that's what everyone does. I used maybe one. I know some people swear by them and love them, but I never remembered to like go down to the fridge to get a new padsicle to put it on. What I used instead were witch hazel pads, and I would take like 2 or 3 of those and just line my pad, and it was the kiss of like cooling goodness. 100% I'm going to have witch hazel Tux pads on hand again, because once they kind of warmed up and the cooling effects had worn off after a while, I could just replant a couple more instead of having to change out the whole pad, because maybe the pad wasn't full, you know, and then just layer them back on. You obviously need pads. There's a lot of bleeding, regardless of whether you give vaginal birth or a C-section. The hospital will give you like the diaper pads. Take those home, ladies. Take those home. But then like once you get to where you're not filling up the diaper pads, you're gonna want like maxi pads, like maternity pads, and then like regular pads, and then panty liners. I thought I would use period underwear a lot more postpartum, but it's a hassle. I only have like 5 pairs and you cycle through those really quickly. It's a bit much to ask yourself to like change your entire underwear and have to take off your pants every time you needed to change your period underwear. So I ended up just using pads, and that's what I plan on this time. Just using pads. I'll keep my period underwear for when like I have my period down the road, but postpartum, it happens fast, and you just need to be able to like be quick with it, because you got a baby that needs you right then and there. If you can find the time, which you should, to take a sitz bath or just like a warm bath, do that, because that's just very soothing on like your body in general, because like not only are you healing, but your muscles are just aching in ways you've never experienced from like the positions you've been breastfeeding in, or holding a baby in, or rocking your baby in, or carrying your baby in. My shoulders hurt just thinking about it. I took a lot of just hot showers because I just shower more often, but if you can like once a week or once a day, I don't know, just take a nice warm bath. They make sitz baths that you can buy. I think my friend gave me some and I'm gonna use it. But yeah, that also helps with postpartum healing. And just know, like, it takes time. It hurts for the first week, I'm not gonna lie. It's pretty spicy, but stay on track with your medication, your stool softener. Be very diligent with all the different sprays, witch hazel pads, the mesh underwear they give you in the hospital. Try to take a couple extra pairs if they'll give them to you. I've lived in those disposable mesh underwear for like the first 2 weeks because they were glorious. They weren't tight anywhere. They didn't like catch on anything. I am gonna get some like sexy high-waisted like maternity underwear after I like get past the mesh underwear phase, but I fully plan on partaking in the mesh underwear game this time. Breastfeeding and milk supply. 2 or 3 days after you give birth, your milk is gonna come in, and it's gonna come in hard and fast. This is something that you hear about, especially if you take a breastfeeding class, which I think most people do, is just the like engorgement phase of your milk coming in. You just have to get through those first 2 weeks and then it balances out, which is totally true. But what do you do about those 2 weeks when it's like, Jesus Christ? I have little boobs. My boobs, when they were like engorged when the milk was coming in, the biggest boulders I've ever seen in my entire life. They felt like they were gonna explode off my body, and Theo could not drink fast enough or long enough to like empty them. And they were like balloons filled to their max. They tell you not to pump for the first 2 weeks while your milk supply is evening out, because then you can send the signal to your body that it needs to produce more milk than your baby actually needs, and then you're gonna have to deal with an oversupply and engorgement longer. So you don't wanna like pump in those first 2 weeks, like don't have any sort of pumping schedule. The trick is getting yourself like a manual pump, like a Haka. I had a Nature's Bond manual pump last time that my friend lent to me. Theo usually only ate on one side, barely emptied that enough to where I got some relief. So the other side that literally felt like it was gonna explode and I don't want anything to touch it, I would pop the Haka on there for just a couple minutes and get like maybe an ounce out, just enough to relieve the pressure, but not enough to like F with the signals that I was sending my body. And so I would do that like in the shower or while he was eating on one side. And you can also use the Haka later on down the road when you're breastfeeding if you have like a strong letdown. So instead of like leaking into your breast pads, you can collect that milk and save it. And save every damn drop of that golden milk you can, ladies. You're going to be ravenous and dying of thirst when you're breastfeeding. There's nothing worse than getting settled down, finally getting that baby to latch, and then realizing your water is out of reach. Because there's something about like once they're latched and drinking, it like gives you immediate cotton mouth. And so always just make sure you have water within arm's reach next to you. Stock your nightstand with snacks. Wherever you like breastfeed most, just like have snacks because you're just always hungry, you're always thirsty. So make sure you have water and snacks readily available. Lack of sleep. This is my least favorite part of having a newborn. Like there's so many good things, but not sleeping sucks. No one looks forward to not getting any sleep, and it's so hard to be a functioning human and mother and make it through all the other challenging aspects of having a new baby not sleeping. This could also be included in the mental health care category because it is just like so mentally draining. I have several pictures on my phone of me at like 4 a.m. or 6 a.m. breastfeeding or pumping and just sobbing because I'm so effing tired and I don't know how I'm gonna make it through another day. I would get anxiety before bed because you just don't know what the night holds. You don't know how long they're gonna wake up. And there's something about like your baby, waking up to your baby crying that just like, it just gives you anxiety. But it does get better. It does get better. It all gets better. It's all just a phase and you can make it through it too. The laundry needs to get done. The house is a disaster. You haven't showered in 3 days, but you're exhausted. F it, take a nap. I know everyone says like, sleep when the baby sleeps. And you're like, well, how am I supposed to literally get anything else done? I found that what worked best for me was when we put him down for the night at 7 p.m. That's when mama went to sleep. I don't care if Michael wanted to hang out and watch something on Netflix. I was getting my tush up to bed because I did not know what that night held. And I knew if I started at 7 p.m. instead of 9 p.m., that was like 2 hours more of potential sleep that I was gonna get that night. I don't know how long into his life it was a 7 p.m. bedtime. So if you can go to bed early, go to bed early. I definitely plan on that again this time because Theo goes to bed at like 7:30. And then once we like initially put little baby 2 down for bed, Mama's gonna go to sleep too. If you're having a really rough day and it was a bad night, all you can do is sleep that day whenever you get the chance, nap when the baby naps. But I know that's not like an everyday thing. Most days it's hard to fall asleep while they fall asleep. I would usually take 1 nap while they were napping during the day, like do stuff during their other naps or hold them during their other naps. I'm talking about Theo in this. Hold him during his other naps. And then I'd go to bed at 7 p.m. And like, no, that wasn't enough sleep, but that's what worked for me. Meal planning and prep. You need to eat. You have been through something, you're going through something, you're giving so much from your body still, your body's recovering and healing, you have to eat. My mom and sister made me like 7 freezer meals, like it was so nice of them, but I never remembered to take them out of the freezer and start them in time because they took like 4 hours or 8 hours, and like by the time I got around to thinking about dinner, it was dinner time. Some people thrive off of freezer meals. I am not a freezer meal person. My favorite was when friends would either bring us takeout or one of our friends literally made us like 2 ready to go meals. She put one in the oven so it would be ready for dinner, and then put the other one in the fridge with like the instructions written on the top. And like, honestly, when I was like writing out the notes for this, it brought tears to my eye thinking about that, because not only were they both delicious meals, she wasn't a mom. She didn't know what to do, but she knew. She knew that to come and put it in my oven so it was ready for dinner. And like, have easy meals and snacks on hand. Like, yeah, we want to eat healthy, but sometimes it's just better to eat. And so have the things that you know are quick and easy. Have the frozen pizzas, have the frozen veggie burgers, the frozen chicken patties, the mac and cheese, whatever it is. Because if it takes longer than like 15 minutes, we don't want nothing to do with that. You're not gonna have time. And get takeout, like I said. Get that pizza, get that pad thai, and don't cook. Have a list of like your favorite restaurants and meals from those restaurants. So if people are like, can I pick you up something? Instead of being like, oh, I can't think about, like, I don't know, be like, here's my list. Or like, I want this off of my list today. Whenever I would go and see one of my friends when she was a new mom, I'd always be like, what do you want from Gateway? What do you and your husband want to eat for dinner tonight? And I would take them food. And then you hold their baby while they eat. Take the time before the baby comes to like plan out easy meals, and then make sure you have those like snacks or ingredients to make those easy meals on hand, especially if it's like pasta or like mac and cheese or soup, or, you know, the really easy things, the things you can store in your freezer and just pop in the microwave or pop in the oven. Put in a grocery order to pick up on your way home from the hospital. I don't know, like, just preparation is key, because the more you can do before the baby comes, the better. All right, moving on to preparing for our mental health postpartum, because I feel like this is something that people don't talk about. Hormone fluctuation. So you've gone from being pregnant and having all these juicy pregnancy hormones running through your system to giving birth and your body being like, WTF, mate, and having to like rebalance itself. And there are ups and downs and highs and lows. You'll get through it. Baby blues is a very real thing. The shock to the system is a very real thing. Just know that some postpartum blues and sadness and like, what did I get myself into, is totally normal. I think it is good to be on the lookout for anything more serious than that, and also have your like partner, your parents, your sister, your friends, whoever, also be on the lookout, because sometimes it takes someone being like, I think there's a little bit something more going on here, and I think you need to talk to someone, because postpartum depression is a very real thing and affects a lot of women. There's resources and there's help out there, and you just have to be prepared that that's a possibility. Adjusting to your new normal. Becoming a new mom, a first-time mom, is an outright shock to the system. It was a very, very hard adjustment for me at first. Like, I had moments where I was like, I've made a terrible mistake having this kid. I'm not meant to be a mom. What have I done? I've ruined my life. Like, I can't go back now because I have this child. And it's not that like I didn't love Theo and I wasn't obsessed with him, because I was, but I was like, F, that life, that old life is gone. And I don't know how to be Victoria in this new life, in this new role as a mom, and how to balance it out, and just like losing your identity and struggling to figure it out. It is a slap to the face. And I just don't think people talk about that aspect of becoming a new mom, because you're just so excited leading up to it, and it's just gonna be great, and you're gonna have this cute little baby, and you're gonna start this new chapter of your life. And then when it's not like that Instagram worthy, like beautiful moment all the time, that's hard, because you're like, you feel guilty for feeling those feelings and thinking those thoughts. But I think everyone thinks those thoughts and feels those feelings, and it's totally normal. And it doesn't mean you don't love your child and that you've made this big mistake. I honestly think everyone goes through those emotions. So just know that that can happen, and you can have like a holy F, I've ruined my life moment, or several moments, and you can feel nostalgic and jealous of your previous life. I still do all the time. I get so jealous of people that don't have kids, and like, I've scheduled this whole afternoon to just like catch up on life, and it's like, oh, what would that be like? Like, while I know that that's gonna come and that like shock to the system is gonna happen, it's not like the same going from like having all your freedom taken away and becoming a mom. I'm going to be responsible for 2 kids, a newborn and a toddler. Like, how am I ever going to get anything done ever again? But it's like, no, you've got systems in place that you're working on now to manage and you will have some difficult months getting through the newborn phase and not sleeping and all that sort of stuff, but you're gonna figure out your new normal and your new schedule and routine and like how it's all gonna work, and it's gonna be okay. But it's okay if it sucks. It's okay if you don't like life sometimes, because that happens. And it's okay if you're not always having fun as a mom. And it's okay if you just want a break from your kid and you hide in the bathroom and cry. Like, it's okay, you're gonna go through it. And it's just, yeah, it's a shock to the system. And that's why we ask for help and have a support system in place. Because it takes a village. We've all heard that, and it literally does. I think one of like the difficulties I had with Theo was when he was like a newborn and little, like you just want to protect them from like all the germs and stuff, and you have to be careful because they don't have an immune system. So it was like cold flu season, and then coronavirus hit, and that has just like wiped us out socially for a while. It's just been an odd experience I've gone to in comparison to like other new mom phases. But I think I'm stronger for it. And I think it's gonna make the return to normal so much sweeter. You're this child's mom, but you did not create them alone. Ask your partner for help. And don't be like me. I'm the sort of person that thinks I can do it all. I try to do it all, but I can't do it all. Ask them for help. And like, yes, sometimes it's like, why can't you just like look around and see what needs to be done and what to help with? But sometimes you gotta lay it out for them. And if you're the one that always does the things for the baby, they're not gonna know how to do things or when to do things, or like when they need to eat, how much they need to eat, when they need to go down for a nap, how long they need to go down for a nap, how to get them down for a nap. They don't know all the little like intricacies of your baby that you do because you spend so much time with them postpartum. So tell them, share that information with them, and just say like, yeah, he gets 4 ounces at this time. Or like if you're leaving your baby with someone, just like spell it out for them and say they need to go down for a nap at this time, change their diaper at this time, feed them this much at this time, warm it up this way, like whatever it is, just spell it out for people, and don't do it all yourself. I am so guilty of this, so guilty. I'm getting better. The people closest to you, all they want to do is help, especially if they've been through it themselves. All they want to do is help. So let them. If they're coming over to see the baby, but there's other things that they like would be really helpful, say, you know, I know this is weird, but could you put this load of laundry and run it through the washer for me? And hell yeah. Can you take all these dishes that have built up next to the sink or in the sink and like start a load of dishes? Hell yeah. Can you hold this baby so I can go to the bathroom, or I can shower, or I can eat this meal? Hell yeah. Besides just being like, oh, here, hold my baby, ask people for help. Even if it's like a little weird, say like, do my laundry for me. People want to help. Being a new mom is so isolating, and I think this is something that we don't expect. You're bombarded with visitors and people that want to meet the new baby, but the focus is on the baby and not on you. And that's hard because you're drowning, you're struggling, you're healing, you're so emotional, you're so drained, and the focus is on the baby. And our automatic response when people are like, oh, how are you? Oh, I'm fine. You know, it's difficult, but I'm fine. If you're the person asking that question, once they say, oh, I'm fine, ask again and say, no. How are you really doing? Because I think people are just like, well, how are they sleeping? How's this? But it's just like, screw the baby for a moment. How are you, mom? And if you are that new mom and someone asks you how you're doing, be honest. Open up to them. Cry if you want to, because it's hard. Being a new mom is so hard. So many people have been there, or they know someone that's been there. And so we need to stop trying to be perfect and looking like we have our shiz together, because we don't, and that's fine. And just be honest and say, you know what? I'm struggling right now. My body's sore. I can't figure out breastfeeding. I'm not sleeping, and I'm not having fun. And I think just being honest with people, and you don't have to be like, share your guts to everyone in the world, but if it's your sister, your best friend, or your mom, or your mother-in-law, or someone, just be like, this sucks. I'm not having fun right now. And let them say like, yeah, like it's hard, but you're gonna get through it. We're gonna get through it. What can I do to help you in this moment? And just like put yourself out there. Having a baby is hard work, and anytime I see like a cute little pregnant person and I can tell, or I guess, and it's like, this looks like this is your first baby. I'm like, oh honey, you don't know what's coming. But that's okay. Sometimes it's nice to go in naive and super excited. And it's not like, I feel like in this video I've made it out to be like having a baby is terrible. It's not. There are so many wonderful things. I think that gets all the focus. Like the wonderful parts of being a mom and having a baby get all the focus, and that's what people share online, and that's what people talk about. and no one talks about the crappy aspects of being a mom. That's what I'm here for, because sometimes it sucks. But it gets easier. It's all just a phase. We lie to ourselves and we're like, once we get through this 4-month sleep regression, it'll be fine. Or once we get through this teething or this tooth, it will all be fine. Or once we get through like to where they can eat solids, it's gonna be fine. Like there's always something going on and something you're struggling with, but like you can get through that phase, okay? Okay, good chat. That is how I'm preparing for postpartum phase, because it's not just about like pad sickles and freezer meals. There's more that happens, and you need to just like know that's coming, and it's all gonna be okay. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Give it a thumbs up if you like someone being real with ya. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.